You're a guy who just wants to look nice. The kind of nice where you might get a nice compliment on the niceness of your nice new outfit. Good thing Men's Warehouse has everything from polos to jeans and yes, suits, plus a team to help you find the perfect fit to make sure you look nice. Nice. Love the way you look. Men's Warehouse.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our U.S.-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. This Monday night, witness the end of an era. John Cena takes center stage for his final appearance ever on Monday Night Raw. One last match, one unforgettable farewell. Come celebrate the legacy of a true WWE legend. Monday Night Raw, November 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, only on Netflix. Be there for the moment everyone will be talking about.
The Lincoln Wishlist sales event is happening now. Here's what's on everyone's wish list. Enjoying holiday jingles with brilliant 3D audio that surrounds you? Check. Watching snow flurries through the panoramic Vista roof? Check. Packing up presents with the spacious Lincoln Splitgate? Check. Everything you want. All standard on the 2025 Lincoln Navigator SUV. Visit your local Lincoln retailer or learn more at Lincoln.com for exceptional offers on 2025 Lincoln vehicles today.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana makes car selling fast and easy from start to finish. Enter your license plate or VIN and get a real offer in seconds, down to the penny. If you accept, Carvana will come pick up your car from your driveway. Or you can drop it off at one of our car vending machines. Either way, you get paid instantly. It's fast, transparent, and 100% online. Car selling that saves your time. That's Carvana. Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Hello and welcome in to Postgame Live. I have no idea what we just watched. Absolutely no idea what was going on down the stretch in that football game. But welcome into Postgame Live. We're going to talk about it. I'm your host, Shane Haff. Give me a follow on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. Joined by all of my co-hosts in the chat here. You guys drop your comments, your questions. We'll try to get to them. Ryan is going to be joining me here a little bit later, unless he gets caught in traffic or something. I don't know, but what a bizarre ending to this football game. And I don't even know. I mean, I guess we start with the end of the game and the bizarre decision making by the Eagles. You know, you get the ball back with 1:26 left, and the Packers have 2 timeouts. And so at that point in the game, you have one of 2 options. You can be aggressive and say, let's go pick up a first down and let's end the football game and not put our defense on the field. That's one option, and that's a valid option, and I wouldn't hate that if that's the approach that you chose. It's honestly probably the direction I would lean personally. Option 2 is let's run the ball, let's burn their timeouts. We're going to run the ball 3 times. They're going to burn both their timeouts. We're going to punt the ball with 33 seconds left. We're going to pin them at the 10-yard line, and they're going to have no timeouts and 25 seconds to go get in field goal range. So that's the other way that you could go with it. So we've got aggressive. We've got the burn the timeouts approach. What you absolutely cannot do is play conservative for first, second, and third down, and then just decide let's throw the ball to the end zone and give them a free 25 yards of field position if it doesn't work out. It is completely indefensible. That this is not an analytics thing. I've said this before that Nick Sirianni is not an aggressive coach. He is a conservative coach who sometimes picks aggressive things, often when he shouldn't. And that's exactly what you saw, and it should have cost the Eagles a football game tonight. So there is no defending what the Eagles did at the end of that game. It's honestly one of the stupidest displays of coaching that I have ever seen from a game management standpoint. So Ryan's in here now. Ryan, welcome to the post-game show. I was just talking about before you hopped in how the Eagles handled that end-of-game situation. I'm curious. I mean, obviously, I think you're an intelligent human being, so I think you wouldn't have done what the Eagles did. But I am curious which way you lean. If you get the ball, you can run the ball and punt with about 35 seconds left, or you could try to be a little more aggressive and go pick up the first down. Which way do you lean on that decision?
Yeah, I think especially the way that, the defense certainly had been playing. I just think pinning them deep, trying to run the ball more instead of, passing those last two on the previous drive. Those are all areas where you can, bleed some clock and then pin them deep. And then they have to, and again, McManus, as we've obviously seen, doesn't have, the leg that some of these, field goal kickers do these days. So, they're going to have to go pretty deep. And just the way that the defense had been playing, the Packers offense, pin them deep. Like, it wasn't like, what are we doing? What are we doing with A.J. Brown? Like, maybe if you wanted to get him involved, maybe passing the ball more than 2 times throughout the game. Basically, there was no reason that any of us Eagles fans needed to sweat out that game so much. It was unnecessary. And that, again, I'm not sure if that's a completely Nick Sirianni thing. I would assume probably I lean more that way, but it's, it was not fun as a fan, let me tell you. And I don't think it was very smart.
Yeah, my favorite thing, I guess, was we watched the Eagles just dominate the Giants, and everybody convinced themselves that Kevin Patullo had the first clue how to run an NFL offense. And we got to keep that feeling going for an extra week because of the bye week. But the Eagles have wasted so much time making a move to a new play caller. You're kind of hitting the point of the year that it's a little bit too late now. But it's so frustrating that this is how they come out of the bye week. And there's plenty of blame to go around. The offensive line did not play well in this game. Now, granted, Brett Toth is in at center. Lane Johnson leaves the game, which, man, I talk about running the gamut of emotions. When I saw him get rolled up on, I thought it's a knee and he's done for the year. Maybe done. And then when the Eagles said it was an ankle injury, I was like, okay, that's good. But in the back of my head, I was like, but maybe they're just, maybe they're just saying that. They're not going to put it out during the game or whatever. But then when he walked out at halftime with his helmet on, I was like, he's not going to play. But the fact he's walking out and he has his helmet means it probably is just an ankle thing. And so I was like, he'll probably miss 2-3 weeks, high ankle sprain. And then they put him out there the last drive. And I was like, okay, talk about the full roller coaster of emotions with the Lane Johnson thing. But so, for a large portion of the game, you're down 2 starting offensive linemen. But I thought Jordan Mailata had a particularly rough game, which he's facing Micah Parsons. It happens.
I get it. But can we be honest about Mailata? I don't think he's had a particularly very good year.
He hasn't. He has struggled
and
this year.
I'm not sure what is going on. I say this jokingly, but, maybe put down the microphone and stop the singing and start focusing on what got you to where you are. But
I need the Christmas album, Ryan. I need it.
Well, I'd rather a win than any Christmas album, I'll tell you that. But
why not both? Why not both?
Because it's Philadelphia, we don't do both. We do one or the other. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It was a rough game, very defensive game. The fact of the matter is, I thought for a good portion of the first half, obviously up until the Eagles started driving a little bit there to get that field goal, that hey, this could be an under 10 total scoring game where it was just, a couple of field goals, and that might have been it. But obviously that first drive, barring the unfortunate turnover by Hurts, again, it was like almost like an 8-minute drive. They had driven down about 80 yards.
Yeah. 16 plays, 77 yards, 8:46 off the clock. Yeah. And even the fumble, I think that was the only play they went empty in the game. And it was an easy 10 yards. And honestly, just a great play by Edgerrin Cooper. Hurts wasn't careless with the ball. He had it tucked against his body. It was a great punch out.
I think the simple fact that when he had the first hit on him, he kind of fell into the guy and landed on top of him. Had that not have happened, had it been a little bit to the side one way or the other, I don't think there's a fumble. I think he's down before that even happens. And we're on our way to an opening touchdown. And then, again, defenses trade blows back and forth. It's 3 and out. It's a first down here, it's first down there, but then, you punt the ball. And obviously you could tell throughout the game that, Green Bay was not trusting of their kicker. And
I think he's been dealing with a quad injury.
Well,
or say it was some sort of.
I mean, you have that. You have the weather factor. There was a couple of things that I was like, all right, like I get it. But even that, there were some times where I think there was one drive where they had gotten to the 40, and I was just like, wow, like you don't even take a shot, like it's that bad. So that to me said everything I kind of needed to know, that they needed to be close for their field goal kicker, and the defense did their job. And even though there were plenty defensively to not like, whether it be some of the penalties that got called, which I'll be perfectly honest, there were a few that I don't understand why there were penalties being called. Perhaps it was called on the wrong player, but I think there was one Cooper Jean that they had gotten that he barely touched somebody. So yeah, it was a little rough overall, but man, they try to make this as heart attack as possible, don't they?
Yeah, LaFleur is a play caller, is a guy I'm usually pretty high on, but I have no idea what he was doing tonight. So they go on the 4th and 9 from the 41, which, yeah, I mean, it's if you're my son asked me about that one, and I was like, well, yeah, you don't punt from there. So if you don't trust your kicker for whatever reason, yeah, you go for that. And they don't get it. And then the Eagles go 3 and out. And the very next possession, they have a 4th and 11 from the 40. It's the exact same spot, and they punted it. And I was like, what are you doing?
Right.
Like,
yeah,
why?
I think it was just given the lack of offense and the way that the Eagles defense was playing at the time. I get it. It's 11 yards to try and go for a first down. Yeah, I don't know. It was tough. Excuse me. It was definitely a weird game. That's for sure. Offensively, defensively, for both sides of the ball. And yeah, there was a lot to not like. But when you really sit back and think about it, you had an Eagles defense, while not perfect, hold Green Bay to 7 points. I mean, when was the last time you had a sub total score?
Yeah.
It's rare. So
yeah.
That has to be a reflection on your defense. Even with the imperfections and the maybe not as sharp play calls and having certain people play in certain positions.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll get into the defense here in a minute, and I thought they played really well, and we're going to have to talk about Jaelan Phillip. But a couple things to close out on the offense here. Sheil Kapadia just tweeted out that based on offensive success rate, this was the Eagles. I'm going to change the wording a bit, but it's the second worst performance of the Sirianni era, 6th percentile. The only one worse was the 2023 playoff loss to the Bucs when the team was just completely broken. So, I saw a couple of comments from people in the chat at the beginning about we're being too negative. That was an indefensibly awful performance by the highest paid offense in the NFL coming off of a bye week. So I don't want to hear that. I understand, like, the Eagles won, they're 7-2, and that's great, but I'm going to talk about what I saw, and the offense was indefensibly bad.
Yeah, it really was.
So I'm not going to sugarcoat that, and the thing to me too is, like, good things happen when they push the ball downfield. I called out on the opening drive, like, that one of the corners was just sitting on a Devontae Smith hitch route, and I was like, when you are sitting on those routes that hard, it opens you up to double moves, and the Eagles are gonna hit on those, and they just never even tried. And then they finally try to throw the deep ball, and they connect with Devontae Smith for a touchdown, and then a drive or two later they throw the ball on a 3rd and 12 instead of running a coward draw to Will Shipley, and they connect for a first down, and it's just like when they will push the ball downfield. Kevin Patullo is more concerned with avoiding turnovers than he is scoring points.
Like it, yeah.
And that's the reason you end up in this game, because it never should have been like this. And so That double move was there. Like, that's something you intentionally script. Like, we want to see how they react to this hitch route on the first drive, so we know, all right, they're sitting on these and diving downhill, and so we're going to set this double move up later, and they just never did. I'd also say it wasn't a very good Hurts game. He missed some throws. Well, I say that. The miss to Calcaterra was pretty bad on that post route, kind of up the seam. He had some really good plays, especially on that opening drive. Twice he avoided Micah Parsons with pretty immediate pressure and made some positive plays. And so it's hard to fully evaluate a quarterback off of the broadcast copy, but I didn't think it was one of his best games. But as he does, he kind of came through clutch at the end. And I'm not going to hold the fumble thing too much against him. I thought he did everything right on that, and it just happens sometimes. Yeah. So I thought that was just a great defensive play.
I agree. I think that was just one of those, fluke, again, right timing. Hurts didn't do anything wrong in that. And like I said, that was a good play call, But yeah, again, I think I was certainly a little frustrated with some of those, as you kind of mentioned, the Will Shipley dump offs. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like, why are we just giving up? And there were a few times where I felt like they were giving up on a drive. And listen, I get it. There are times where, that is, the analytics will tell you that's probably the safer play. But that's how they were playing. They were playing safe. And it was the times where they took their chances is when, they were able to, stretch the ball down the field. And honestly, I think Devontae Smith, certainly we may be looking back at that touchdown and being like, well, that certainly was a play that changed our season and saved our season, honestly.
Yeah, you just, like, if you look at after the opening drive, the Eagles' third downs, everything's just backwards. 3rd and 14 run, 3rd and 2 pass, 3rd and 2 pass, 3rd and 11 run, 3rd and 6 run. None of these worked, by the way.
Yeah, no, I assumed.
3rd and 4 pass that was a conversion that time. 3rd and 7, you take a delay of game that pushes you to a 3rd and 12, and then you run. 3rd and 15, they did pass that time. But it's just like, man, there's no flow. Nothing builds off of anything. And yeah, comment here that Kevin Patullo makes Brian Johnson look good.
Yeah.
When not facing the blitz, yeah.
I mean,
maybe a little bit. So
it's frustrating because you saw the last 2 games, Minnesota and New York, where again they certainly weren't perfect, but there were building blocks of like, oh hey, maybe they have figured out how to kind of get out of this whatever they're in, this funk of offensively not understanding what they're doing. And there was some hope heading into this game, and especially you have a bye, you're getting a little bit healthier, and right now, again, while I'm super happy that we got the win, and we got a win against another NFC playoff potential team that we may end up needing down the line to have that tiebreaker, but it doesn't put me. In fact, it pushes me back to pre-Minnesota frustration in this offense and just the play calling and just the understanding of utilizing your star players.
Yeah. One other thing on the whole Matt LaFleur of it all that I was going to mention that I forgot, but they get to a 4th and 1 on their last drive, second to last drive, with 2 timeouts, and they choose to run up to the line and quick snap to run inside zone out of shotgun. Like, how is that what you're doing in that situation? Like, first of all, QB sneak, you've done it twice and it worked both times. Second of all, if you don't want to do that, call a timeout and get your play set up. Like, you run up tempo to shotgun snap a running play. All you're doing is you're frazzled. You're allowing the defense to know exactly when you're going to snap it. They knew exactly what play that half the defense was yelling inside zone this way. And you see Moro Ojimo jump the snap. You see, I don't remember who was next to him, probably Carter, jump the snap too, and it just gets blown up. Like, just horrible management. So
yeah, and I get why I think they kind of went away from the tush push in those situations, is because clearly each Green Bay and Philly had a sneak where there was some clear offsides. And on that third one, which happened to be Green Bay, they called it. And I think that was kind of a sign to, Philly to be like, hey, listen, like, unless you guys know you are 100% being on sides, maybe don't do that play.
I do not understand why it is so hard for left guards not to false start on QB sneaks.
It's every one of them. Every one of them does.
Brett, we'll flip over to the defense here. Brett Eclipse asked, did you guys catch Jaelan Hunt nearly taking out a ref on that tackle for loss celebration?
I thought he was gonna like hammer, haymaker on the top of his head.
Yeah, that could have been bad.
That could have been real bad.
I would assume no flag would fly there because it clearly wouldn't be intentional. But given the quality of the officiating in that game, who the heck knows? But yeah, let's talk about the defense. And I think I feel like the place we have to start with the defense is with Jaelan Phillips. And so Jaelan Phillips was awesome in this game. He plays 53 of 68 snaps. He had 8 pressures in this game. Jaelan Hunt, I think, had a 9 pressure game that was all fake against Jackson Dart because he just kept rolling into him. But I think it's the most dominant defensive line game I've seen from an Eagle this season. He does not end up with a sack, but he generated a sack for Jaelan Hunt. I think it was on the opening drive. He was in on several big plays in the run game. He leads the team with defensive stops with 5. Where did tackles for loss go? Now I can't find the tackles for loss. But anyways, incredible performance, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
By Jaelan Phillips. What a pickup at the trade deadline. And we always talk about that how he's in season deals typically aren't good. I think we can go ahead and say this one's good because Jaelan Phillips was awesome tonight.
Yeah, he was out there completely making his mark on the field and affecting the play. Again, may not have gotten the sack or this or that, but he was forcing plays away from him because he was again getting those pressures and again got the fumble recovery and again it basically you might as well have Jaelan Hunt better give Jaelan Phillips a nice steak dinner or something for that sack because that was pretty much all Jaelan Phillips. And again, it was nice to see somebody who's been here for 6 days have that much of an impact. And again, I talked about hope early. The hope here is that he can continue to build on it as he gets more comfortable with his line mates, with working with Vic and some of the other players, that is only going to get better. And as Nolan Smith kind of gets himself used to playing again, obviously, he was impactful. So it's nice to see that we have a 2-man edge, at least starting wise going forward, that there's some hope to it. And obviously, I would love to know, I'm sure you have the stats right there, how many plays Brandon Graham actually played. I felt like I didn't. How many?
He played 10 snaps.
10. Yeah, I felt like I did not see him except for like 1 or 2.
Yeah, I had 1 pressure on 8 pass rush snaps.
There you go. But yeah, again, I feel a lot better about the edge position in now finally seeing Jaelan Phillips and the impact that he can have. So it was certainly good, in that regard. Speaking of edge, and not really, but can we both agree that I don't ever want to see, I'm blanking. Why am I blanking?
Because it's late.
I know, yeah, it is late. Linebacker, who I love, we just drafted, Campbell. I don't ever want to see him on the edge. He cannot set an edge.
Yeah. I've been saying that since before he played a snap for the Eagles.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, well, that very true. But even worse to have him there. But he was getting dogged by wide receivers, and not very good ones, by the way. And I'm like, why do we continuously we have bodies now? We have people that we can have on the edge. We don't need to, and I get you're trying to figure out his place. And I get that you're trying to make it all work, but edge isn't it. Edge isn't it. Please stop it. I want Campbell out there more than most, and I don't want him in at edge. He just couldn't do it consistently at all.
Yeah, it looks like 11 of his 33 snaps were at edge, so
too much.
About a third of his snaps. Nakobe Dean, by the way, also awesome in this game. Made a huge impact. Gets a sack. Had a couple of stops. Dean definitely played really well in this game. And honestly, the whole defense played really well in this game. They pressured Jordan Love 1% of his dropbacks. Love was only 3 of 12 for 21 yards, took 3 sacks when he was pressured. And so they lived in the backfield. Now, it's worth mentioning also that the Packers are without Tucker Kraft, who is their best weapon on offense, and they're without Matthew Golden, their first-round pick at wide receiver. And so this was a depleted weapons unit. That said, we saw this defense get pushed around by the Giants on a Thursday night game against really bad receivers. And so you don't take anything away from the defensive performance. It was a really good performance, but it's not going to be that dominant week in and week out. And so, they're going to need something from the offense. By the way, Ryan, was it not the most predictable thing? There was never a shadow of doubt in my mind when the Eagles finally scored a touchdown to go up 10 that the defense would immediately give up a touchdown so we could sweat out the end of this game.
Oh man, that's too funny. Honestly,
my son was like, ball game, and I was like, nope. And he goes, but they haven't scored all game. And I said, yes, but we haven't either. Yeah. And I have watched enough Eagles football to know what's about to happen.
Yeah. No, I immediately was like, all right, well, I was like, at least there's not that much time left that for when they do give up the score, hopefully we'll have enough time to milk the clock. But yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, we're at least giving up 3, if not a touchdown. And yeah, sure enough. Yeah, it's funny. I feel like Green Bay, to be perfectly honest, if they just would have just kept going to Josh Jacobs, I don't know if we'd be sitting here with a win. Jacobs was doing, did such a great job, honestly. Perfectly honest, I would have used him a lot more if I was Green Bay.
Yeah. I thought he had a good game, and that has been the weakness of the Eagles defense so far, is giving up outside runs, particularly toss, but they've gotten, on some stretch plays and things too, but particularly tosses to the outside from condensed wide receiver alignments have been a big issue for the Eagles. Going back to something I was talking about after the Rams game, and Packers run a pretty similar style of offense, and we saw that a little bit tonight too. And that's something that's monitoring going forward, because I think at this point, the 3 biggest contenders in the NFC alongside the Eagles are the Rams, who do that a ton, the Seahawks, who do that a ton, and the Lions, who do that a ton. And so it is something that the Eagles are going to have to fix, get a little better at. And hopefully, some of the new edges that you have in there are going to be able to help with that too. But wasn't the best Cooper DeJean game either. Although I was laughing on the broadcast, that second holding penalty they called on him, they showed the replay, and I was laughing at the announcers trying to figure out where it was.
Yeah, Troy was trying his very best to move past it real quick.
If that wasn't a wrong number call out and the penalty was actually on someone else, that was one of the worst calls of all time.
I completely agree. And honestly, due to the whole, YouTube thing, I watched the game at my local watering hole. So I literally stood up and I was like, where the is the penalty? And as soon as they showed the replay, I was like, what are we doing? Are we just calling things to call things? And I'm obviously I'll go back and look, because now I'm more curious as to maybe who could have been called for the hold, because it couldn't.
Yeah, I'm assuming they got the wrong number on that one. They had to.
For the sake of all referees and their honor, I hope so too.
Yeah. I just saw NFL memes posted on Twitter that Nick Sirianni received a random drug test after the conclusion of the Packers game.
Nice.
Oh, man.
Nice.
So,
yeah, it's not wrong.
So yeah, I think I will walk away from this game exhausted, and hopefully I'll sleep well tonight. But I think I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll be really encouraged by what we saw from the defense, particularly the pass rush, because the Packers have a solid offensive line. And so, we could say you held them to 7 points because they're injured and, their receivers and stuff. But the pressure the Eagles were able to get is something that we haven't really seen. And so I'll walk away really encouraged by that and really concerned about the offense. And yeah, this comment here that the special teams holding on Ringo was
bad.
How do you call a holding penalty on a gunner?
Right. That's what we were all like, wait a minute, Ringo, he's the gunner. When did he have time to hold anybody?
The only time you get a holding call on a defensive, quote unquote, defensive player, that's not like holding a receiver, is like if you hold an offensive lineman that's trying to pull in the run game. Like, there's literally no circumstance where that should ever be called. And then the broadcast is trying to be like, yeah, he was trying to like slingshot around him. I was like, they're running the same direction.
Yeah, because
that was one of it was a really poorly officiated game.
The Green Bay
really poorly
Packer player got
game.
Spun around somehow and then was like,
it looks like Ryan might have froze for a second here. Ryan's back now.
Sorry about that. The defensive player, the Green Bay Packer player, got spun around somehow. And then, it almost seemed like that was the reason why they called it.
Yeah. While we're talking officiating, I thought that DPI on Jahad Campbell was a pretty bad one too. Like, I thought it was pretty, I could see you calling it, but I thought it was pretty weak contact, and then the ball wasn't even catchable anyways.
Well, and that's also the main thing there is that by the time he did make what you would consider pass interference, the ball was already passed and out of reach. So it's like, it just sucked. Yeah, the refs weren't great, but again, never an excuse to lose a game. Just unfortunate, and it is what it is.
The refs weren't great, but they were still better than the offenses on both sides.
Sure. That is for sure.
So, all right, man, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to mention.
So
I don't think there is.
The special teams, that play where the ball bounced into the end zone and then Gibson grabbed it, decided to run backwards 4 yards and almost get a safety, even though theoretically he couldn't have. Yeah, that was a strange play, to say the least.
Yeah, let's explain that one, because I saw a lot of people upset about that on Twitter, talking about how that. So first of all, it was clearly like, I loved how the announcers were trying to be like, it's close. It's like the guy ran for 4 steps in the end zone before he touched the ball, so it was already a touchback.
Yeah.
But Xavier Gibson doesn't know that. So once a Packer player bats the ball, but they haven't downed it, it's basically free. Like, Gibson can try to run through and scoop it up, and if he fumbles that and the Packers fall on it, it's just downed. It's not a fumble. And so for him to run through and try to scoop it up, he cannot fumble. He can't lose yards unless he turns around and runs backwards. So there was the only possible way he could have got a safety is if he picked the ball up and then ran backwards into the end zone unassisted. So it was a heads-up play, because nothing bad can happen, but there's a chance, and you can look up highlights where people have done this before on YouTube. There's a chance the defense or the coverage team, I guess I should say, falls asleep, and you scoop it up and run it in for a touchdown. Like, that's happened before. So it was actually a heads up play with no risk. And it kind of annoyed me that the broadcast didn't really talk about that much, because
they had no idea.
I saw things flying on Twitter. It's like, that's why the Jets got rid of him, and the whole of Philadelphia was about to go after him. I was like, it was a smart play with no downside.
It was, and it's funny you say that too, because I was saying, like, well, especially after the Jets just got 2 return touchdowns, yesterday. And for this, and for what it looked like. And I even said, again, because, there's nobody that knows all the darn rules. I was like, I'm pretty sure he can't, I'm pretty sure he can't do anything with that. Like, I always thought that, like, even if he touched it, the ball was down regardless, but I definitely didn't recognize in the moment that he could theoretically run it out. But now you say it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've seen that happen where they've batted it out. The ball just kind of sits there, and then somebody just grabs it and runs it back, and some, random kind of touchdown. But yeah, no, it absolutely was a smart play. But yeah, on the surface of it, what it looked like, and not getting any help from the broadcast, it looked like Gibson was about to get murdered by the entire city.
Yeah, there's we've got some people chiming in here that also didn't know that. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I meant to bring that up, and I just kind of forgot. I was trying to frantically Google and see if I could find, I know I've seen videos of it happening, but I'm probably not going to find one live while we're talking.
Of course.
I was just to say, I'll even throw it up on the screen. But yeah, so smart play by Gibson. You guys can all tell your friends at the water cooler tomorrow when you're talking about the game, be like, actually, and you can go show them in the rule book or whatever. But so smart play by Gibson there. Just ultimately, I mean, nothing happens, but nothing happening is literally the worst case scenario. So all fair there. Quinyon Mitchell, also really good game. I thought he had some really good coverage reps. The Packers really wanted to get that DPI on him near the end of the game, and I was just like, that was phenomenal coverage. Comment here from Brett Eclipse. What do you think about Fangio's end of game blitzing? I'm always scared of what Fangio is going to do late in the game when he's frustrated, and I feel like you saw it after they picked up that first down. I think he blitzed 3 plays in a row, and they were working, and so that's. It's a better place to do it when you're playing receivers like this, I guess. Make Love get it out quick, and you can kind of sit on some of those routes. But I generally don't love the dramatic change up to what you typically do. But it worked out this time. There's a lot of times it's made me really nervous, though.
Yeah, no, agreed. I like the fact that he is typically not a blitzer, and it's weird when you see him blitz a little too much, and you're just like, you at least for me, I'm always like, what is going on? I wonder what he's seeing that he feels like he needs to, and it's usually is to make up for something else that he doesn't have that he's used to having, to try and change the, kind of the...
Yeah. Looks like Patrick Peterson actually did that one time in a game against the Eagles on a punt return.
Wow.
But yeah, so NFL Rulebook Section 9, Article 3. If the kicking team touches the ball before it's touched by the receiving team and before it has come to rest or gone out of bounds. Oh, no, wait, that's the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Never mind. I'm reading the wrong section.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that was exact.
I will find a clip and I'll tweet it after the show, so you guys can check it out on Twitter. I don't think I'm going to find it live here.
So this was the only the 6th time that the Philadelphia Eagles and the Packers have ever played on Monday night. Right now, with the win, the Eagles are 4-2, including, which I never knew, the 1960 championship game was actually on a Monday. Never knew.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming they didn't consider it, like a Monday night game, obviously, like we do now. But still, yeah, I was... when I was kind of diving deep for my show on Wednesday, I was looking into that, and I was just like, that's odd. But yeah, so 4-2 out of the 6 games, including that championship win.
Another comment here about Q coming back in after he went down with an injury. I actually kind of forgot about that.
I did too. There was too many injuries to kind of hyperventilate about. That was one of them.
Q goes down against a team with bad receivers. I will forever go back to the Thursday night game against the Giants. So, yeah, the Eagles, obviously we'll see what comes of the Lane Johnson injury. Adrenaline's a heck of a drug, and, it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't play next week, but regardless, it's very encouraging. He was back out there. Q is back out there. And so the Eagles dodged some pretty major bullets with 2 guys they could ill afford to lose. I'm not sure there's a worse guy they could lose on defense than Q. Obviously, losing Hurts would be worse on offense, but that's probably the only guy worse than losing Lane. So dodge some bullets there, and they get the win. They go to 7-2, and obviously have that huge Sunday night game against the Lions looming next week. And so that'll be a big one as well. But Ryan, let's do our player of the games, and then we can do our final thoughts and things. I'll let you go first. I'll let you have your pick of the linebacker and the new edge rusher.
Hi, I'm Jim. I'm not an actor, just a guy living with prostate cancer. My wife and I face each day head on. We asked my doctor about Xtandi enzalutamide.
Xtandi 40 milligram tablets treats men with prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body and responds to a medical or surgical treatment to lower testosterone. Xtandi may cause serious side effects: seizure, a brain condition called PRESS, allergic reactions, heart disease that can lead to death, falls and bone fractures, swallowing problems, or choking that can lead to death. Stop Xtandi and get medical help at once if your face, tongue, lip, or throat start swelling. Tell your doctor at once if you faint, have a seizure, quickly worsening headache, decreased alertness, confusion, vision problems, chest pain or discomfort, or shortness of breath. Xtandi can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during and 3 months after Xtandi. Common side effects include muscle and joint pain, feeling unusually tired, hot flashes, constipation, less appetite, diarrhea, high blood pressure, bleeding, falls, fractures, and headache.
Visit Xtandi.com to watch my story.
Hey there, it's Dr. Sanjay Gupta with some exciting news to share. CNN is now streaming. That means you can read, watch, and stream everything in one subscription. You can watch news live 24/7. You can also explore catch-up videos and explainer videos, and you can also watch a library of CNN's originals, including my latest documentary, It Doesn't Have to Hurt. Just go to cnn.com/all-access.
Man, I hate being so damn predictable. Yeah, you know what? I am going to give it to Jaelan Phillips. Again, I thought coming in here with maybe 6 days, probably more like 5, considering, and to get himself up and ready with a defense that, yeah, he certainly is familiar with, not completely, but yeah, obviously, I'm sure it's not apples to apples. So, and to impact the game and to, fumble recovery, pressures, helping with sacks. Yeah, it was very, very, very promising to see his impact already in such a short time.
Yeah, Jaelan Phillips, great pick. We do have a request for 3 words, so if you can think of 3 words while I do mine, we can do them in our final thoughts
Sure,
here. But I'll give mine to Nakobe Dean. I thought Nakobe Dean played a phenomenal game. Gets the sack, gets the tackle for loss. I thought he was disruptive, making plays, and he's playing in such a way that it's going to continue to eat into Campbell's snaps because he's playing really well right now. So, and that's a good problem to have and to try to figure out. So I'll go Nakobe Dean for my 3 words. Just put on your best Dory from Finding Nemo voice and say, "Just keep winning." Just keep winning. Just keep winning.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'll flush. Move on.
All right, I like it. Brett Eclipse goes with a fire Patullo yesterday. We've got a stagnant KP sucks. I don't know how to pronounce this person's name, though. Safandrius,
yeah. That's what I'd go with.
Brandon Russell says, Tarmac Patullo, please. Robster with a what's an offense? Brett Eclipse with a deadline trade successful question mark.
No question mark.
Yeah. Nobody is more shocked than I am.
Yeah, right.
Although I did really like Jaelan Phillips, but they just haven't seemed to work out. We got to be more aggressive from Alante.
Aggressive.
Kevin Patullo Prison from the Animaniac. Makes me think of Parks and Rec. It's like, you call a draw on 3rd and 12, straight to jail.
Yeah.
Straight to jail.
I mean, that's not wrong. Speaking of trades, did Michael Carter play at all?
I don't think so.
I didn't think he was among the inactives, but I did not physically see him out there. But
yeah, let me throw it. Where did it all go? All the data blanked out now.
We got a couple of more. Fire Patullo, please. I don't know. That's pretty accurate. Very stoppable offense. Another Brett Eclipse classic.
All the snap counts disappeared from PFF, so it's just a blank screen now. So I can't look that up. But I don't think.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think he did either. Patullo Pains Philadelphia, Triple P's.
Yeah, that's a good show title.
Yeah, it is.
So, all right. Well, let's go to final thoughts. Ryan, any final thoughts? Anything you couldn't fit in earlier? Lay it out here for the people.
I think it was kind of an ugly game offensively. The defense certainly stepped up, but by no means was perfect. I think, Green Bay's offense was certainly, had some issues. But listen, no one ever is going to recall how a game was won. All that matters is that they did win. They continued to, be atop the NFC. And yeah, they have a Lions game that I think is just as important coming up on Sunday night. So, if they can get through Detroit with another win, I'd be feeling a lot better, that's for sure. But hopefully this was just a small blip offensively, and we can go back to, maybe what we saw during the Vikings, during the second Giants game. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that nervous, Russell, Brandon. I think the Detroit offense is very stoppable by the Philadelphia Eagles defense. It's more of, can this offense get back into a rhythm? And that's, I think, what ultimately is going to determine the outcome.
Yeah, they seem to oscillate between good games and bad games. So
true.
They lost to the Chiefs, and then they beat Tampa, lost to the Vikings, then beat the Commanders. So it should be time for them to lose again.
Great.
Just in time for them to beat the Giants the following week. So it all lines up good from that standpoint. But yeah, it's a game I'm really looking forward to because I was looking forward to an NFC championship matchup with the Lions last season, and then they didn't make it there. And I was really surprised. I really wanted to see how those two teams matched up. And obviously the Eagles don't look the same so far this year, but the Lions don't either. And so, that's going to be a huge game. Sunday Night Football, another primetime game. I think the Eagles defense is playing really well, and we'll see what happens. Coming out of the bye, I said if the Eagles can go 2-1 in the stretch of Packers, Lions, Cowboys, they set up to have a really strong chance to go get the 1 seed. And so they got one of the wins. Hopefully they can get another one against Detroit next Sunday night. And, the Eagles, they continue to find ways to win games, and that lengthens their runway to figure out some of the offensive issues they have going on. It's certainly not ideal that we're going into week 11 next week, and this is still what the offense looks like. But the Eagles are 7-2. And so I'm not going to say, a win's a win, because we did that in 2023, and not every season's 2023, but there's some real problems. But the Eagles are continuing to win football games, and they're lengthening their runway to figure everything else out. And so hopefully they'll be able to get some of that stuff sorted out. Hopefully Lane Johnson's healthy and they get Cam Jurgens back and they can really start to fire on all cylinders. So that's my hope going into next Sunday night against the Lions. But that's going to about do it for this post-game show because Ryan and I are old and need to go to sleep. But we thank you guys for coming and hanging out with us on Postgame Live. There'll be lots of stuff coming your way this week. Birds of the Round Table will be tomorrow night. Chalk Talk tomorrow night. Johnny and I will be doing our film show, I think, on Wednesday. Hopefully we can get through the film and still do it at the normal time. Lots of content coming your way. So if you enjoy the post-game shows, all the content, make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're watching these at. Go subscribe to the podcast feed too. That really helps us out a lot to bring you guys more content like this. So the Eagles improved to 7-2. Great chat's going crazy tonight, so really appreciate you guys. But we are going to get out of here because we're going to be back at it tomorrow night. So hopefully you guys will come hang out with us then. We'll have seen a little more, we'll have slept, and maybe we'll feel differently about some things after getting into the film. So that's going to do it for this one. We will catch you guys next time. Go Birds.
Go Birds.